A human rights protection NGO, Citizens for Integrity, has commenced legal proceedings against Cricket South Africa to review the decision of the cricket governing body to strip 18-year-old David Teeger of his captaincy of the Proteas U19 cricket team. This was for the Under-19 Cricket World Cup staged earlier this year, and they were citing security concerns as the reason. But the NGO alleges through their court papers that the security concerns were just a smokescreen and that the decision was indeed unlawful, unconstitutional and irrational. I am joined now by the attorney for the NGO Citizens for Integrity, Daniel Witz. Daniel, thank you so much for joining us here this morning. And I suppose you have filed the court papers, but just for context then, what is the reason why you have decided to take Cricket South Africa to court?
The reason we took Cricket South Africa to court is to set a precedent. There should be no political interference in sport. South Africa has unbelievable sportsmen and women, and they should be selected on merit, and that includes the captains of either men's teams or women's teams. They shouldn't be stripped for whether it's political views or personal views on any matter in the world.
But Cricket South Africa have stated that it was due to security concerns. That was the reason that was put forward in their statement. And they have said that the reason was primary duty to safeguard the interests and safety of all those involved in that Cricket World Cup. Why do you believe that this is not the real reason?
Because we've asked Cricket South Africa to be transparent. And our new Minister Gayton McKenzie, has promoted transparency in the new government of national unity, which we fully believe in. So we've asked, what are the security concerns? And there's been nothing forthcoming, no reports, no correspondence with us, absolutely nothing on what the security concerns were, other than there may be protests, which, as you know, every South African has an inherent right to protest. That doesn't mean it's a security concern.
Well, they did say that they were relying on information that was received from the security team. And I think, again, reading from the statement, regular security and risk updates was what informed it, and advised that protests related to the war in Gaza can be anticipated at the venues for the tournament. And they said the core issue in the Teeger case is that they removed him from the captaincy because they believe that these protests could be centered around David. Yet
they kept him in the team. So how does removing his captaincy but keeping him in the team negate any security threat? And again, we have to separate a protest versus a security threat. Was a security threat against the participants in the stadium, Mr. Teeger himself, the other players in the team? They haven't been forthcoming. We've asked for the reports. We didn't have to proceed to court. Unfortunately, we were forced to because they haven't disclosed this to us. Neither did they disclose it to any of the team members.
So what is the relief that you're seeking then? Because, well, the Cricket World Cup is over. He did play, but he can't really be reinstated as the captain, and that's usually on a case-by-case basis. So that ship has sailed. What are you looking for the court to do?
So we want the court to review the decision and set it aside, the decision to remove his captaincy. We want the court to declare it unlawful, invalid, and to rescind their decision to remove his captaincy. Yes, that ship has sailed, but again, we're trying to set an important precedent that just because a ship has sailed, as you say, doesn't mean you shouldn't be held accountable for constitutional scrutiny.
But is it really accurate then to say that there was no basis for them thinking that there could be security concerns here? Because we do know that there were comments that were attributed to David, those that were said to potentially, incite violence. And I'll read perhaps from what he said at the awards ceremony, and I'm sure you're familiar with that statement as well, where David Teeger then said, yes, I've been given this award, of course, on stage receiving his award. I'm now the rising star, but the true rising stars are the young soldiers in Israel. And I'd like to dedicate it to the state of Israel and every single soldier fighting so that we can live and thrive in the diaspora.
In the diaspora, yes. So if you read the rest of that comment, he dedicated it to two ex-South Africans who were fighting in the army, one of which was, we believe, to be kidnapped on October the 7th, and subsequently 163 days later, Daniel Peretz, we were found out he was actually murdered on October the 7th. So I think as a youngster, he was saying, these are the real rising stars. These are at 18, 19, 20 years old, fighting for their right to exist.
But do you not think there would be basis then for Cricket South Africa to perhaps feel that such statements and a sentiment that would be communicated might open the room for others to backpedal off it and perhaps create a bigger message?
So that's an interesting point.
Yeah.
Cricket South Africa took David to a full disciplinary hearing where evidence was led for and against him before Advocate Wim Trengrove SC, who's a predominant advocate in South Africa. He's been in many cases. And they found that no wrongdoing was done on David's part. After that, a decision was taken, nothing to do with his comments at the Jewish Achiever Awards, but a decision was taken based on so-called security concerns. And again, we don't know if it was security concerns, threat to people's lives, threat to safety of people, property, or to just avoid potential protests. That decision was separate from the disciplinary hearings taken against David. So we have to separate those two.
Have you asked for this information from Cricket South Africa, for them to reveal what it is that they relied on to make the decision that there were security concerns?
We've asked Cricket South Africa directly, and we've asked Cricket South Africa's attorneys to provide us with that information, and nothing's been forthcoming, other than saying they're relying on their media statement where they cite security concerns.
And have they filed any opposing papers to this action? I believe there was a deadline of midnight. Has there been anything from Cricket South Africa in response to the action that you instituted?
Nothing yet. So no fireworks as of yet.
Well, of course, we have also tried to reach out to Cricket South Africa to get their side on this ongoing saga and just to get comment from them regarding this. But as we look to sum this up, Daniel, what is the ideal outcome here? Should things continue as things are, there's no response from Cricket South Africa, what's the next step for you, and where do you then stop? You have engaged Minister Gayton McKenzie, as you've said as well. So what is the last step for you?
The last step is fighting a full-blown opposed application in the High Court, which we don't believe is necessary. We believe that Cricket South Africa should just be transparent. We're not looking for an apology. We're just looking for them to say, yes, our decision was wrong. It wasn't based on security concerns, but rather individuals' political opinions. And we are trying to say to South Africa that when it comes to our sport, whether it's the Proteas, the Springboks, Bafana, Banyana, Banyana, there should be absolutely no political interference when it comes to the sports field.
Well, many might be saying, well, this might be a long route to take just to prove a point, but I think it's a point well made, and it's about the greater message behind it. Thank you so much for your time there, Daniel. So that's Daniel Witz, of course, representing Citizens for Integrity, who have filed that legal action against Cricket South Africa. We'll continue to try and get comment from Cricket South Africa on this matter as it does go on.